So I know you're also a busy person, so we'll get down to it, starting with what this story was originally about, which is your presidential transition committee. I was wondering if you can talk a little bit about what you're hoping to accomplish with that. And I saw through an email that you guys are looking for input.
That we're
looking for input, I believe, or looking for.
Yes, sorry. So what do we hope to accomplish with the commission? Basically, ensure that I have access to the best thinking around what the vision, values, culture of NAU is, what the aspirations are from the perspectives of all of the internal and external stakeholders that in one way or another count on NAU to advance their own aspirations, and to do so fairly quickly, so that, as I've said before, I can hit the ground learning so that we can quickly identify those collective goals, if you will, that we can advance. And so the input will not only be through the commission, which obviously will be important because they bring their own perspectives and they represent various stakeholders for the university, but also we're opening it up to the entire campus community and friends of NAU. And so we're very much looking forward to learning as much as we can, as quickly as we can.
Yeah, I like that phrase, hit the ground learning. I got to use that. And let's talk about some of your first priorities once you get into the office. What will those be?
I think the first priority will be to, having had this opportunity of a transition and having a sense of what sort of the immediate challenges are that we need to address and opportunities are that we need to seize, putting in place the structures and the processes that will allow us to succeed on those fronts. Clearly, the fall will be big on my mind, right? The fall 2021, with a return to more in-person instruction, all of the health and safety issues associated with that will be on my mind, and issues that are on the minds of presidents all across the country: enrollment, budgets, learning outcomes, diversity, equity, and inclusion. So all those will be in the top list of priorities. Of course, there are many of them, so I will also be looking to build as strong relationships as I can throughout the campus, because I really think this is a collective enterprise, right? It's a presidency. It's not only about the president, it's about how everyone contributes to that. And so I'll be trying to create those networks and connections so that we can bring to bear everybody's talents to the work at hand.
Definitely. And you said you're going to be looking at different challenges and everything once you get in. Is there anything besides, the health and safety of students in the pandemic that sticks out to you now?
I think that we want to make sure that we are providing all of the supports that we need to our students, and leveraging what has been learned by NAU during the pandemic in the way it's done online learning and virtual services, student support services, leveraging that to ensure that we can continue in an upward trajectory around graduation rates, retention rates, and the quality of the degrees that our students earn. So very much looking at academic quality and the supports that we provide students to be successful.
Definitely. And, you're still getting started and everything, but talking about specifics, one thing I've had conversations with people about is how the university is bringing in less money from the state than usual right now. Is that anything that's crossed your mind? And if so, what do you think you can do in the future to bring in more revenue from the state?
Right. Well, those are collective conversations, and I will look very much forward to working with ABOR and the presidents of the other universities in Arizona, Arizona State and the University of Arizona, to better understand what the legislative agenda is around this topic. I mean, it's important, even as we are looking and advocating for increased investments in higher ed, which is a topic that I'm dealing with now in New York as well. That we look for ways to diversify our revenue stream so that we can continue to advance our work without being solely reliant on the state. So that's some thinking that I need to do during the transition and learning to see what the best perspective is to advance the work.
And you're talking a lot about the collective approach, getting everyone's input. How do you think that'll have an impact on overall staff morale?
I hope it helps improve morale. Not so far the feeling I'm getting from folks on campus is one of a very warm welcome and an optimistic outlook towards the future. And so I hope that by engaging all of our faculty and staff in not only defining and articulating what the future will look like, but in creating the structures, the processes, the strategies, the tactics that will actually get us there, that morale will be high and improve as well. I found throughout my career that the more engaged you are with the work, the more you see yourself and what you do in advancing the mission, the happier you are and the higher the morale is.
Definitely. And have you faced any challenges so far?
Challenges, well, the challenges associated with the transition, having a full-time job at the City University of New York, making sure that we can keep this moving forward the best way possible. At the same time that we are trying to do this transition, managing it remotely. And then there's a third job, right, which is the family and how we make sure that we can move towards our ultimate destination in Flagstaff.
Definitely. As a college student, I definitely relate to the having multiple jobs and all that. And out of curiosity, what part of New York are you from?
Well, I'm living in Manhattan. We are in Lexington and 96th Street until recently, where I actually packed up my apartment already. And things are actually sitting in some warehouse in Long Island, New York, waiting for us to have a place to ship them to in Flagstaff. But prior to that, we spent 3 years in the Bronx, and a magnificent community and very fond memories of our time there as well.
Definitely. That's mostly for my own curiosity. I used to live in New York. But while we're on the topic, how does your big city perspective sort of help in relation to Flagstaff community?
I missed the first part. Actually, just so you know, I'm in Puerto Rico and my Wi-Fi right now is a little unstable. I'm sorry, I missed the first part of the question.
Oh, you're fine. I was wondering how your perspective living in a big city will transition to a community like Flagstaff.
Yes. So that's a really great question. And I can, the first thing I will say is that I spent most of my academic career and even as a student in a small college town in Puerto Rico that is just right about the size that Flagstaff is in terms of population. My career has taken me to Atlanta, Georgia for 5 years, to Washington, D.C., to Orange County, California, to the Bronx, to New York City. And so we are very adept at adapting and as a family. And the truth is, and I've mentioned this before, and the last time I was on campus, that the Northern Arizona area has been, on our minds for a very long time, particularly my wife and I, as it was the first place we traveled together as a couple more than 15 years ago. And so we're just so thrilled to actually be able to build a life there.
Awesome. Is there anything else you'd like to add?
No, just how grateful I am and at the welcome that we've received, at all of the input that we have been receiving from folks about their experiences at the university and what they hope the future will bring. And that I am really just excited, as is my family, to actually be there on the ground and working side by side with our faculty, staff, and students and all the friends in the community. So, and thank you for taking the time to interview me today.
Of course. Thank you so much for interviewing.